Viktor Orban, the outspoken Prime Minister of Hungary, has never shied away from controversy. In his recent State of the Nation address, he made waves with his pronouncements on Ukraine's potential EU membership. Orban declared that Hungary would have the final say, emphasizing the potential negative impact on Hungarian farmers. Orban's vision for Europe differs significantly from Brussels. He views Ukraine as a buffer zone between Russia and NATO. He believes Ukraine should remain neutral, preventing escalation between the West and Russia. This aligns with Orban's skepticism of NATO expansion and his belief that the West's approach to Ukraine is misguided. He argues the conflict is about NATO's control of a strategic region. Orban's stance has drawn sharp criticism from many within the EU. They argue that Orban's rhetoric undermines Ukrainian sovereignty. Orban's State of the Nation address highlighted his growing list of grievances with the European Union. He outlined key areas of conflict: migration, child protection, household energy prices, and Ukraine's EU membership. On migration, Orban opposes the EU Pact on Migration and Asylum, arguing it undermines Hungary's sovereignty. He remains committed to protecting Hungary's borders. Orban also clashed with Brussels on child protection and LGBTQ+ rights. He announced a constitutional amendment defining gender as strictly male-female. These moves have strained relations with the EU. Orban criticized the EU's handling of the pension system and household energy prices. He sees Brussels as out of touch with ordinary Hungarians. Orban's confrontational approach has led some to label him as the bloc's enfant terrible. Critics accuse him of undermining democratic norms and cozying up to authoritarian leaders like Putin. Orban's State of the Nation address was also notable for its transatlantic implications. In a surprising move, he praised former US President Donald Trump, calling him a comrade in arms and lauding his supposed exposure of a corrupt network influencing Western politics. Orban's affinity for Trump is rooted in their shared populist instincts, skepticism of globalism, and embrace of nationalist rhetoric. Both leaders have been accused of fueling divisions, undermining democratic institutions, and cozying up to authoritarian regimes. Further straining relations with the US, Orban announced plans to send a commissioner to investigate Hungarian entities receiving funding from USAID. He accused the US government of meddling in Hungarian domestic affairs and supporting organizations that oppose his government's policies. This move is likely to further complicate relations between Budapest and Washington, which have been strained since Orban's rise to power in 2010. The Biden administration has been critical of Orban's government's record on democracy and the rule of law. Domestically, Orban used his State of the Nation address to announce a raft of populist policies aimed at shoring up his support base ahead of the 2026 parliamentary elections. He proposed a series of tax cuts and benefits for families, including lifetime income tax exemptions for mothers with 3 or more children. He also announced plans to tackle inflation, tasking his national economy minister with negotiating price caps on supermarket staples. Additionally, Orban pledged to build 100 new factories aiming to boost the Hungarian economy and create jobs. These policy announcements come as Orban faces a growing challenge from the opposition TISA party, which has been steadily gaining ground in opinion polls. The upcoming elections are shaping up to be the most competitive since Orban's return to power in 2010. Orban's ability to maintain his grip on power will depend on his ability to navigate a complex domestic and international landscape. His controversial stance on Ukraine, his confrontational approach to the EU, and his alignment with Russia have alienated many former allies and left him increasingly isolated on the world stage.